Man, I've been talking about Speed Racer for a while now. What time is it? That's interesting. It's a full moon out tonight.
Full moon? This can only mean...
Uh-oh. That's better. Giant robots. Everybody loves them.
There's always been something about them that always seems so impossible to achieve, yet it seems we're already there, with some really impressive technology to come out of the last century.
I mean, look at Japan! They're either prepping for World War III or a kaiju invasion.
Okay, good to know that the only thing protecting humanity from a kaiju invasion is a sloth. A sloth, ladies and gentlemen!
In this tree, there is one of the most extraordinary plant predators. Boo!
You have your obvious robots that everybody knows, your Mecha G, Mechazord, Robotech, Gundam, Optimus Prime, and Giant Vin Diesel. But what about one that roars?
That's right, everybody. We're talking about Voltron.
The story of 5 powerful robot lions that come together to form the defender of the universe himself and protect it from giant roe beasts. This is something I've always enjoyed. Robots, kaiju, purple aliens. Watching this show to me as a kid who liked Japanese monster films was like giving a lunatic a bazooka and saying go crazy.
Everyone's heard of Voltron at some point. I would hope. The formation part is way too iconic.
Gotta hurry. Form Voltron. Activate interlocks. Dinotherms connected. Infracells on. Mega thrusters are go.
As a kid, you have no idea what any of those words mean. I still don't, but I'm ready for it.
Voltron!
This show is awesome though. It's one of those classic 80s anime that's more well known for the American version than the Japanese one. Beast King Go Lion just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Basically the premise is the same, with the only massive difference being in that the violence and the profanity is more prominent in the Japanese one. Also, because of the popularity of Voltron, it got more episodes than Beast King Go Lion. While I can't find a whole lot of information on the background of the show, Go Lion was originally designed by a toy manufacturer, Katsushi Murakami, in 1981, taking inspirations mostly from Daltanius. Some of the early concept art for the robot actually had the black, blue, and yellow lions all have manes, but they were taken out to give the lions a more younger look. They also gave it more of a medieval flair with the crosses and the sword that they added later on. Personally, I'm really glad that they went with what we have today. The original concept just looks a bit too goofy. What I've always loved about this show though is the characters. You got Keith, Lance, Hunk, Pidge, Sven, and the princess, all piloting their respective lion. The only thing is they never match with their uniforms. Think Keith pilots the red lion? Wrong. He's the black lion. Think Sven pilots the black lion? No, he's the blue lion. Till the princess takes over his lion and then she's wearing pink. Ah! But other than that, they all have their traits and specific quirks that make them who they are. My favorite has always been Pidge and Hunk. There's a lot of humor that the show has to offer with them. It's simple, but it still gets a laugh out of me.
We could use some support.
Yeah, like maybe a delicious home-cooked meal?
When it comes to the animation, it's pretty superb. It has this grainy, classic Star Wars look to it, where in some shots we get that level of detail with how scratched and worn the lions are. One thing that's a pretty cool fact about the American version is that they removed all Japanese cultural indicators from the animation. Word balloons to anime-like expressions were all removed. They did this because they thought that Voltron would be more well received if children thought it was of American origin. And I would say they did a pretty good job with hiding that fact. It wasn't until years later that I found out it was actually a Japanese show originally. When you watch Voltron, it feels American from the start. It has this He-Man-like feel to it that I just can't describe. One of my favorite things from the show is actually the music, both having some of my favorite intros to a cartoon. The original Japanese theme has this chanting Go Get 'em Wondrous theme. While the American version takes on a more operatic narrative with a rockathon. Voice casting with this is pretty surprising, with some really famous voices actually.
From days of long ago.
Wait, is that who I think it is?
My name is Optimus Prime.
The actor who actually played Hunk and Prince Lotor, believe it or not, was the original Scrappy-Doo.
Oh, easy there, Scooby.
My name is Scrappy, and I've been here longer than all of you!
King Zarkon was Ultra Magnus and Astro Train in the original Transformers show. The guy who was Keith and Pidge was not only the announcer from Garfield and Friends, but was also Han Solo in the majority of the old LucasArts games. Even though there's some big voice actors here, like I said with my Speed Racer retrospective, a lot of these early dubs suffered from some wonky moments. It's not as bad as Speed Racer, but... One of the more obvious things that they did to promote the show was their toy lineup. They had these Matchbox metal lions that would actually form Voltron if you had them all. This is really cool. The only downside to this is that they were expensive. My father always said that he could never afford them as a kid, so we always collected Thundercats. But he said that the kids were lucky enough to have them would always group up together and form them. It's a lot like the show, how where everyone has their own lion, and then they group up. He also said there was always that one kid who would have every single lion, but wouldn't share them. Me personally now, I have the complete set of the Lion Force now, fully refurbished by myself. I also have the complete Vehicle Force set as well. These, in my opinion, are really cool. The only bad downside to them is that they're all plastic. This is the deluxe set, yes, but compared to the metal Matchbox Lions, this feels like a lot cheaper. I do plan on refurbishing these though and taking the yellow out of the plastic. When it comes to the DVDs specifically, this is my collection. I have the 2004 to 2005 DVD collection. They're really noteworthy for their durability. These cases are awesome metal tins. They really encapsulate the whole feel of the metal robot lion. It's just really, really cool. And I wish more TV show collections would do this and have them more of a collector's box like this. This is my Vehicle Force set. While I absolutely adore the Lion Force sets, these sadly feel a bit more cheaper because they're not made from the same metal material. They're just kind of this traditional cardboard box. They're still pretty nice, but compared to the metal lion tins, it just feels more cheap. But remember how I said that this got more episodes than its Japanese counterpart? Well, originally Voltron was supposed to be a trilogy of cartoons, with a different version of Voltron protecting their quadrant of the universe. Lion Force was the defender of the far universe, Vehicle Force was the defender of the near universe, and the unseen third Gladiator Voltron was the defender of the middle universe. The coolest thing about this is that the Lion Force we have now happened almost completely by accident. Originally what occurred was a deal was struck for 3 series, Daltanius, Albagos, and Armored Fleet Diagur 15. There's 2 stories of what happened. One is that the Japanese company accidentally sent an episode of Go Lion with all of the rest, and the other is that the company sent Go Lion instead of Daltanius. This was a mix-up when the American company just asked for, quote, the one with the lions. When the American localization saw Go Lion, they viewed that one as the one with the most promise and decided to translate that first instead. Originally how Voltron aired was pretty jarring. Like I said, this was a trilogy of 3 totally different cartoons. Once the team had translated all the original Beast King episodes, the ones that became the Lion Force, they went into translating the next one, Armored Fleet, which became the Vehicle Force Voltron. The transition from one show to the next is almost non-existent. There wasn't something to ease the fans into a completely different robot with different characters. When the Vehicle Force series aired, children were confused because of that. One minute there was the lions and now it's vehicles. The show did so bad that once they were done with the Vehicle Force, they scrapped the plans to translate the next Japanese cartoon Albagas and joined forces with Toei Animation to produce original American Lion Force episodes to continue the series. I'm actually kind of sad that this never came about in its fullest form, because I actually think this is really cool. Not one robot would be called Voltron, but instead a lineup of robots would be known as Voltron. Kinda like Yoshi. You have the main character Yoshi, but you still have many other colors with them. They're still called as a whole Yoshi. That's what's happening here. As I get older though, I have found it hard to start and continue a viewing of the series. While there's a lot of storylines that do continue, most episodes feel the same, with Hagar just making a new road beast, boom, planetary terrorism. Ending with Voltron cutting it in half. Still entertaining, but some episodes do tend to blend together a bit. When it comes to the new reboots, I'm not really going to get into them, personally because I haven't watched Third Dimension or Force. One has the cutscenes of Critical Depth on the PlayStation 1, and the other is Voltron Force. The only one I think that got kind of close was Legendary Defender. It introduced some cool ideas that I loved, like how Hagar was originally Zarkon's love interest, and how Zarkon was a pilot at one time. The transformation is pretty cool too, I'd have to admit. But it did really crash and burn for me after an episode where they go to a mall. It just didn't hook me as much as it did other people. Personally, I think that they should stop trying to reboot the Lion Force so much. I understand it's popular, but why not go after the Vehicle Force instead? We've seen plenty of reboots and retellings of the Lion Force. Why not do a Legendary Defender style reboot, but with the Vehicle Force? That being said though, the live action film that's been in rough development for years is pretty intriguing. I would be excited if it actually started to gain some traction again. But I really think that this would be one of the hardest films to make. Voltron is one of those properties, in my opinion, that just doesn't get the recognition others get.
The very first Power Rangers. It's got nothing to do with Power Rangers. This was before Power Rangers. This is Power Rangers' daddy, all right? This Power Rangers stole it from Voltron. We gotta educate the youth, man.
I feel the only way to really do this film justice is with a pretty big budget, and I just don't think a film studio would want to take that chance. And if they did, it would probably resemble more of a Transformers movie. But that would be terrible to go the whole Transformers route. We've seen it done where they take less complicated characters and make them super complicated. They would probably do the same thing with the Lions and have them super complicated, or have the story take place in modern day on Earth. For me, my dream live action movie would want them to be exactly like in the show. Just very simple, square robots and way in the future. The casting I have thought about. You could have some big names like maybe for Zarkon or Koran, but mostly I would want no names that can look or act like the original show's characters. But to really see how this might turn out, I think we really have to wait for Netflix's Masters of the Universe movie to really get a feel for what a Voltron movie could actually be.
But with that being said, this is just a show that I have a lot of nostalgia for and respect for. I might not like it as much as I did back in the day, but I still have respect for it. And I highly recommend that if anybody sees a DVD set or just anything of Voltron, pick it up. I'm sure it'll be worth your time.
5 minutes later.
I've done it! Well, all I have to do now is just display it with the rest.
Oh, good. Wait a minute. That's not supposed to be there. Uh-oh.